So I'd like to share with you the building of my house on pictures and video. And I started with the foundation, just pure block foundation. Each is 8 by 8 grid. The, all the building material on the trailer behind the foundations is everything that it took to build the house, all the framing, windows, and doors. So that's the whole house. And in this video, this is everything you'll see is on that trailer. And so once the foundation pier blocks were in place, I trued them up I leveled them, and made them square with each other. And then I started building the floor. Now I built the floor upside down because I needed a plywood bottom for the insulation. So once the joists and bottom of the plywood was built, I turned it over with the tractor using braces and some rope, and I gently laid it back down onto the pier blocks, pulled it over with the rope, and got it to uh, be sitting on the pier blocks and squared up and completed. So once it was on the floor, or on the floor was on the pier blocks, I made sure the plumbing was all coming through the floor properly, the drains and the freshwater inlets. Um, and then I needed some spray foam put in the installation, so I had some spray
Getting the
foam
foam
put in.
sprayed in on the floor. Getting 4 inches of foam.
Once the spray foam was finished, then I put the radiant floor heating tubing in with PEX and finished the other freshwater plumbing, which is on the corners. Those are the hose spigots for the outside hoses. And then I put the floor on the top, plywood floor, and I put 2 coats of polyurethane on that to protect it while I'm building, and that'll be the floor as it is in the house, just like that, with a few more coats of polyurethane. So then I started building the framing on top of the floor um, in this time-lapse video. So the way you start building a house is you frame the floor or frame the wall on the floor, um, laying out the windows and the doors and framing it all in place. And then when it's all done, you will lift it up and brace it with some temporary uh, corner bracing to keep it from falling down. And you build all the walls that way. And then once they're all built, you put the top plate on, which ties them together, and that's how the frame comes up. It's not really stable, that very stable, but that's how they all get up and get built. So now I'm building the front of the house, the front wall, north wall, and I'll raise it up and brace it like the other one. Now the 2 side walls, build those in between those walls, um, and raise those up and tie them into. I think the battery died here for a half an hour or so, but so he didn't get to see build another wall. Anyway, so they're all tied together now. Now I'm putting some cross braces to add shear strength to it. So when it's all braced up, then you can start putting the roof on. And so I didn't order trusses; I had to build trusses. So I just got some 2x6, 6 to 16 feet long and 10 feet on the top of the roof, and for each side, and built the trusses myself for an open attic. Um, I tried it best as I could to keep them all as uniform as possible. I put a little triangle piece of plywood on the top. So this is me working at night or early in the morning. Got up at 4 in the morning and just started working because I thought I was going to work in a few days. Thought I only had a few days to finish this house and get it all dried in. So I was working into the evening with headlamp and in the morning with a headlamp to get it all completed before I had to go to work at sea. So this is before sunrise. The sunrise is just there, and still working on the building the trusses to for the roof to build the roof. Once the trusses are all built, then I'll start lifting them up on the roof. Um, it was quite cold uh, this day. In in these 2 days that 3 days that I was building the house. So I used the tractor to put half of them up on the roof. This first one in the middle was pretty tricky to get up by myself, but eventually, running around, braces and stuff, got it built. Once the middle one's up and braced, then you can put a 2x4 tie in with the rest of them and set them in place and put them in the proper measured out place. So that's half the roof built. I went and got the other half for the other side and stacked those. And then again, once uh, tying them into the other ones, you put them in the proper spacing with the 2x4 and screw them in to keep them all properly spaced apart. It's really important to get them exactly properly spaced apart. And so now, once I'm making the braces stronger, because I'm going to put plywood roof on, and that's going to take some extra weight and windage, and you want it very strong. So I started putting the plywood up, and as I was doing this, I was realizing that it was really wobbly up there, especially with the extra weight of the plywood, and the wind was blowing a little bit, so it was a sail effect, and I thought, this is me building the gable ends a little bit because I forgot to do that with the roof. So I realized I needed more shear strength on the walls because the whole house was a bit wobbly up there. So I put in the windows and I put in the siding on the side of the house to add shear strength, so the house would be more stable and it wouldn't be so wobbly and the wind wouldn't blow it over when I was trying to put all the plywood up. So it took a little extra time, had to stop the roof, but got all this done, all the siding on the roof, and then I started back on the roof, putting the plywood up on the roof again, now that was sheared up. And I had to redo the bottom layer a couple times because it was like, and this is me working with a headlamp again and with headlights at night. And I got up before in the morning again and was working with the headlamp uh, to get all the roof finished. This morning was very cold. It was like 10 degrees, and ice had formed with the dew on the plywood up there. And so I was slipping off the roof. And so I got a rope. I had to rope myself up to and tie myself in every time I wanted to go up on the plywood. I didn't expect the roofs to be this steep. It was I just kind of built it on without plans. The whole house is built without plans, or it's just all in my head. So when the roof got up there, I'm like, dang, this is steep, and it was icy. So that's why I got roofed up or roped up to do the roof. And but it gave a lot of attic space, so that's decent. That's nice. And here I am again on the rope, getting the last of the plywood up. This in the sun, it wasn't icy, or the ice melted off, but I still needed the rope because it was so steep. But and again, it's a big attic, so that's nice. So here I am on the peak, finishing that off, screwing all the plywood is screwed off here. So the roof's finished there at that point. So now I'm going to put the tar paper up. So the tar paper goes between the sheet metal and the plywood, and as an added leak protector. But at this point, it's also keeps it dried in from the rain. So if the rain were to rain and my sheet metal's not, it's ordered, but it's not here yet. So it'll stay dried in if I were to needed to go to work. And that was the goal, is to get it dried in before I went to work. So this complete house here is done in 3 days, or actually 3.5 days. If you count the roof, well, actually the gable ends here, these were very fiddly and they took forever to do, like hours each. So that's a half a day to just do those gable ends, or at least 4 hours with the siding, because you have to line up the siding with the pattern and cutting in the right angle and everything. It was just very difficult. So anyway, the last gable ends are finished. Once those gable ends are both finished, the house is complete. If you count the half day I took to do the floor and these 2.5 days to get at this point, that's a 3-day build. Um, so now I'm just cleaning up around the house, tidying up, and that's about it. It's a 3-day house build. Um, so I hope you enjoyed that. Of course, I gotta wait for the foam, spray foam, then get the doors in and everything else.